Hello. Today I thought that I would share with you one of my favorite hymns. This is My Father's World, and it's been a favorite of mine since I was a kid. I loved all the imagery of the rocks and the hills and the trees and the birds with their carols singing. It spoke to me, and it still speaks to me today, and especially in an outdoor ministry setting like Calumet, where we're surrounded by a beautiful lake, by trees with birds that are singing right next to us in the dining room. It's just a great hymn, and I thought that I would share with you the history of this hymn and about the person who wrote the text. His name was Malty Babcock, and he was a leading Presbyterian minister. And he started his life in Syracuse, New York. He was born in 1858. He graduated from Syracuse University. While at Syracuse, he was a brilliant scholar, an expert swimmer. He was captain of the baseball team. He was a skilled amateur musician. He played the violin, he played the organ, and he played the piano. And he even directed the university glee club. And it's been said that he entertained his fellow students with his drawings and his impersonations. And if that really wasn't enough, he was an avid fisherman as well. Then he went on to study at Auburn Theological Seminary in New York and became a pastor at First Presbyterian Church in Lockport, New York. Lockport is located between Lake Erie and Lake Ontario. And while he was there, Pastor Babcock enjoyed running and walking and just being in creation in the nearby hills around Lockport. It was said that if you could walk up this one hill, you got a full view of Lake Ontario and the surrounding countryside. And this is the part that I love. Often he would go for a walk and he would say to his secretary at the church, "I'm going out to see my Father's world." And while he was in Lockport, New York, this is where he wrote a poem called "This is My Father's World." And the poem had 16 stanzas. Now, we in our hymnals only have 3 stanzas, which were combined. Pieces were taken from the various verses, and I'll talk a little bit about that a little bit later. In 1866, Pastor Babcock was called to Brown Memorial Church, and that's in Baltimore. And there he was known to be a very engaging speaker. And he was in great demand for colleges. He visited college campuses, spoke to students, and was in high demand. In 1899, he was called to Brick Presbyterian Church in New York City. And here, it was very difficult for Pastor Babcock to go out on walks as he was in the city, and his workload was very demanding and it was a heavy workload. His congregation recognized that, and at the age of 42, they presented him with a gift. It was a trip to the Holy Land. He departed by ship, and while en route to Naples, Italy, he was seized by a deadly bacterial fever and subsequently died on May 18th in 1901. After his death, his wife compiled his writings that same year into a book entitled Thoughts for Everyday Living. And she included Pastor Babcock's poem, "This is My Father's World." The music for this hymn text is from an old English ballad, and it was arranged by one of Pastor Babcock's friends, Franklin Shepherd, who took the 16 stanzas in the poem and cut them down into 3 verses that we know today. The name of the tune is Terra Beata, which means blessed earth. sees, his hand, the wonders wrought. This is my Father's world. The birds their carols raise. The morning light, the lily white, declare their Maker's praise. This is my Father's world. He shines in all that's fair. In the rustling grass, I hear him pass. He speaks to me everywhere. This is my Father's world. Oh, let me not forget that though the wrong seems off so strong, God is the ruler yet. This is my Father's world. Why should my heart be sad? The Lord is King. Let the heavens ring. God reigns. Let the earth be glad. Amen. I hope that you enjoyed this time exploring the background of this hymn, This is My Father's World. I invite you, if you have the opportunity, to peek out your window or maybe step outside and take in your Father's world. Maybe you'll hear the birds singing their carols. Maybe you'll see the morning light. Maybe you'll be able to pick up a rock, touch a tree, and hear the rustling grass. Maybe you live near the ocean and you can hear the sea. Breathe in God's creation. Thanks be to God.